All right, good morning and welcome back to SuperTalk Mississippi. Here on the Paul Gallo Show, I'm Mandy Gunasekara with Lance over in Jackson today, and I'm so excited about our next guest. We have Will Russell, MSU grad, representing today. Y'all have got a big game coming up this weekend too, but also from the Trump campaign and coming to us live from Florida. Is that right? Are you still out there?
That's right. I am. Good morning, Mandy. Thanks for having me again. It is a new day in America. How about that?
It feels like it. Everything just feels lighter, and it feels like we don't have to worry as much about the direction of the country because we know that
That's right.
the man who was meant for the job, he got that job, and he is already working hard at it. But fill us in. So you've been there on the ground for the last few days. What was it like leading up to the election, and then what was it like on election day as the results came in?
Well, I think that so obviously there's always a lot of nervous energy, but confidence was nothing that was depleted here down here in Florida. We were ready. We knew that we had been doing everything that we needed to do to get across the finish line. I can say that from overall the campaign standpoint, this is one of the most efficiently run campaigns that Donald Trump has ever had. Having been in this orbit now for this is my 9th year. Susie Wiles led this campaign. Chris Osvia led this campaign in the exact direction that it needed to go. The president was absolutely on message, as we've seen now in the polling, really hitting the topics that the American people needed to hear from a presidential candidate, addressing the issues that are affecting average, everyday Americans out there that are just trying to make ends meet at this point. And it's reflected in the polling. I mean, let's just take Mississippi, our state, as an example. He won. Donald Trump has now won by larger margins every election that he's run, to include this one. At last check, he's up 24%, I think, which is we're over 60% in the votes. That's a huge margin for him in Mississippi. And I can't thank enough the hundreds of activists that called me over this election cycle, getting engaged, to the thousands of people here in Mississippi who heard the call and said, I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to get involved with the campaign, even if that means I'm sitting at home using my laptop, making calls into Georgia, into Michigan, to Pennsylvania, making sure that people are getting out to vote. The Mississippians answered the call, and I'm so very thankful for the work that they did. In particular, two guys, Ty Martin, the political director at the Mississippi GOP, and Jamie Peavy, who is one of the best grassroots guys here in the state. Those two guys were my right hand, my left hand throughout this entire process. And once again, Mississippi led the way and delivered for Donald Trump in a way that only Mississippi can. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
Yeah, well, a job well done on that front and the whole team. Yeah. Mississippi was not only delivered for President Trump, some folks may take advantage of that, but at a growing rate. And I think that really is to a testament that folks in Mississippi aren't going to be complacent when really important issues are on the line. And that could not have been more clearer with this election. All right, so things have quickly shifted, seemingly from okay, we won the election, and now folks are starting to think about transition. Are you involved? Are you working on that? I know a lot of that is relatively tight-lipped, and rightfully so, but to the extent you can read us in on what all's going on, give us a little taste of what is it like being there right now as the country certainly shifts, but the folks on the ground shift from getting the president elected to getting him prepared to be his most effective, ready self on Inauguration Day.
Well, you said it in your last segment, right? This team is one of the most effective. They're fast, they're nimble, and they're able to adjust. And this is nothing new. There was already a plan. There was a transition that was started well before this election day. And we were all anticipating what the results of what we've received on Tuesday. So there have been plans that have been laid out. Obviously, to your point, they're very tight-lipped. I'm being as helpful as I'm going to continue to be as helpful as possible to this transition, and then to the next administration, and step up and serve wherever the president needs me to serve. We Obviously, the president made an announcement yesterday to put Susie Wiles as the chief of staff, and that couldn't have been a better announcement. Susie has been the steady hand through this entire campaign, and is going to do a fabulous job taking on the very difficult role of being the White House chief of staff. That is a job that never ends. It is an all-day, all-night job, and there's no one out there who can be in that position better than Susie Wiles, because she's handled not just the dynamics of internal politics of a campaign, but she also has a good finger. She has a finger on the pulse of the American people, just like Donald Trump does. And that's one of the things, especially having served in the previous White House and the previous Trump administration, having to see the different dynamics of the nuanced issues that are being taken up on a daily basis. It's the conversations that the American public don't know about. It's the 10 o'clock phone call at night when something's happening in a foreign land. It's there are wildfires right now out in California. That's a great example of like what the White House's posture, how the response is to natural disasters, to things that are happening to everyday Americans, apart from the normal things that we've talked about in this campaign of getting our economy back on track, of getting control over the southern border, making sure that we strengthen our position from an international positioning. That's what a lot of what Donald Trump has talked about. We know that he's good at all of these different positions, all of these different topics, because he's proven it in 4 years in the past. So when we talk about what happens next, I think it's pretty natural, right? He has a record to run on, and he ran on it and won. So this is what the people are mandating. I mean, you think about it. Think about where we are coming out of election night. That to win the popular vote up on top of the Electoral College, to win the Senate, and we're on track right now to win the House. We're going to have all of three of these bodies, and this is a mandate. This is what the American people are expecting now. So it's our job to step up, and Donald Trump's delivered once. He's going to deliver again.
Yeah, and he's going to be ready to go. He's going to have his people and his policies, and I'm really excited and looking forward to that. I want to transition just a little bit. This election outcome, you also had some personal skin in the game, not just from a work perspective, but you were on the receiving end of one of the worst weaponizations of the federal government we ever saw, where former Trump, the president himself and then the people around him were subject to the ridiculous investigation from a weaponized federal agency, folks on Capitol Hill. And in the previous segment, a former colleague of mine and well-known Trumplican Sam mentioned that a lot of folks went through their own version of a personal hell leading up to this election, and it's not just vindicating for the country, but for the people who were personally on the line, expended great resource, personal, financial, your emotional well-being, all of the things that you go through. Just read us into how you are feeling after having gone through and been on the front lines of one of the worst, again, I will say it again, the worst weaponizations of the federal government, not just against the president, but against individual American citizens that I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a great question. I finally feel at peace about all of the things that not just me. I have several colleagues who went through this incredibly difficult time period of their lives, and I think about a lot of other people who weren't able to effectively navigate their way through the difficult through the heavy thumb of the federal government and the investigative bodies therein. I leaned on my faith throughout most of this, or throughout all of this. I am a deep man of faith. God is sovereign through everything in life, and everything happens for a reason, I believe. And so I try to take that mindset whenever, through the subpoenas, through the grand jury testimonies, through all the spilt ink, And it was interesting, right? Because I'm stuck in my own little world. I had to remove myself out of that for a little bit and recognize that, like, not everybody is thinking the same way I'm thinking. No one's reading my emails. No one's thinking about what I'm going through. So stop putting that at the forefront. Focus on the job that's in front of you, and let's get Donald Trump to the finish line so that we can finally start fixing some of this weaponization that's of the government. So I'm very thankful today. It is a new day in America.
It is a new day indeed. And Will, we're so grateful you were able to join us. And I just have to say what an amazing testament and testimony that you have about really being put through the ringer, but not losing sight of God and keeping your eye on the prize, which was getting President Trump across the finish line. You are a big part of that. Thank you so much for your efforts, for your time. And with that, we're going to have to take a quick break here for our listeners, but we've got much more here live from the Oxford Conference Center, the 23rd Annual Banking and Finance Symposium. Stay tuned here on SuperTalk Mississippi.